Oh, hey guys, let me put this stuff down real quick. So, you might be wondering why I'm jogging and drinking and lifting weights all at the same time. Besides just trying to make myself have a heart attack, there's actually a good reason for it today. So, in these past few lessons, we've been learning about different metric measurements, right? We talked about distance when I was running first. Then we talked about weights, started lifting some weights. And then we talked about capacity. And we're talking about liters and stuff like that. We're talking about grams with the weights, talking about meters with the distance. Well, today we're going to bring all that together and we're really going to make some connections to what we've been learning and even some skills that we already know, talking about place value and things like that. So we're kind of bringing it all together today, which was why I was doing all three things at once. So you're going to need a couple things today. We're going to need a blank place value chart, which should be available for download within the module if you're in the course, or hopefully within the description or something like that of the video if you can find it. If not, you can always just sketch it out on paper. That'll be fine. You will need something to write on, something to write with, and you're going to need your knowledge from all the previous lessons when we were talking about metric measurements. So I'm gonna wipe some sweat off. I'm gonna get my breath back, and then I'll meet you guys back here for a second, and we'll get started. Okay, so hopefully I'm not too much of a mess, but let's talk a little bit about what we're dealing with today, what we're looking at, and how we can basically, our goal for today is to know and relate metric units to place value in order to express measurement in different units. So basically we're just going to be talking about what we've already learned about these metric units and how we can relate that and make some comparisons to what we know about place value to maybe make it a little bit easier for us to switch in between and back and forth between these different measurements, okay? All right, before we jump into place value, let's just take a second real quick to review what are some of the measurements, some of the metric measurements, some of the metric units that we've worked with in some previous lessons. So take a minute, think of many of them as you can remember, and then we'll see how many we hit. All right, we ready? You know what? You can even call them out at the computer. Ready? All right, go. That's a good one. That's a good one, right? Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. All right, I think most of you I heard hit most of them. So let's go through again. We talked about grams, we talked about kilograms, right? And those are measurements of weight or mass. We talked about centimeters, meters, kilometers, right? Those were all measurements of distance, of length. And then we talked about milliliters and liters, which was capacity, right? How much can something hold inside of it? So we got all those. That was awesome. Thank you for calling those out. And we made some relationships there. And we knew that there was, like in certain ones, there was 1 liter is the same as 1,000 milliliters. Or there was 1,000 meters in every kilometer, okay? So we started to make those connections there. So using that knowledge, let's go back, let's take a look at a place value chart. Okay, so looking at this place value chart, right? And to just kind of make comparisons here. If I had 1, let's say 1, all right, and I had 1,000. What kind of comparison can we make between 1 and 1,000? Like, how much greater is 1,000 than the number 1? Right, it's 1,000 times greater. So to go from the 1 to the 1,000, I'd have to multiply by 1,000, right? 1,000. Similarly, you could think of that as meters or grams or liters, right? If I had 1 meter and I wanted to go to 1 kilometer, or if I was comparing 1 meter and 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer is 1,000 times greater than 1 meter, right? That's the comparison I can make there. Same thing if it was grams to kilograms. Okay, or even liters to kiloliters, even though we didn't talk about that, but it's the same thing, be times 1,000. That's what we've learned so far. That's that comparison that we can make between those two numbers. Okay, so we can kind of see on that place value chart how that works out, and really each step on the place value chart is times 10. So this is times 10. This step here would be times 10. And then this step here from the hundreds to the thousands would be times 10. 10 times 10 times 10 is the same as 1,000, so we could say times 1,000. That's how we work that in there. So for each step that we take, we can go from one to another. Now what if let me get rid of this here, and what if instead of ones, tens, hundreds, things like that, I'm going to cross these out, and I'm just going to write in, let's say, centimeters to meters. First of all, where would I need to go to get to meters? How far is it from centimeters to meters? What am I multiplying by? 100, right? There's a difference there. So we put meters here because this would be like times 10 times 10, which is the same as times 100. So 1 centimeter, or 1 meter, if I was going to compare the two, 1 meter is 100 times greater than a centimeter, 100 times greater than a centimeter. Okay, so we can make those comparisons that way, and kind of keeping it in that place value chart, think of it as each spot that you move is 10 times greater or 10 times smaller, depending on how you're looking at it. All right, I moved on to a different looking place value chart here, and if you still have your place value chart and you can, erase the top and rewrite, we're gonna take a closer look at some of the metric measurements. Now, some of the things here are things that we haven't seen before, but I'm putting them in there to help us relate that place value. Okay, it's not something that we need to memorize all of them. We've just been working with certain measurements, but it helps us to kind of make some connections here. So what we have here is in the middle, we're kind of starting with our unit. Okay, so that whether that's meters, grams, liters, that's our measurement here. Whether we're measuring length and distance, whether we're measuring weight and mass, or whether we're measuring capacity, they're all right here with the unit. Okay, as we go bigger, we have deca, hecto, and kilo. Now kilo is the one that we worked on, right? That kind of means like times 1,000. We talked about here. Okay, deca would mean times 10. Well, all of these are times times a certain amount. This would be times 100 out here for hecto. These ones you don't have to necessarily memorize yet. They're going to come into play at some point, but really we focus on kilo, we focus on our units, and then we did a little work with centi and milli as well. All right, so the main thing that I want you guys to remember, or to the connection that I want you to make to place value, is anytime you move from one of these up to the next one and you're making that comparison, it's going to be times 10. So if you make a jump from milli to centi, it's times 10. From centi to deci, it's times 10 again. And then all the way back up to the unit of meter, gram, or liter, it would be times 10 again. All in all, if we're making that comparison from milli to liter, meter, or gram, we're thinking that it is 1,000 times greater. So a meter is 1,000 times greater than a milliliter. It's 100 times greater than a centimeter. A meter is 100 times greater than a centimeter, and would only be 10 times greater than a decimeter, but we don't really use decimeters yet. Okay, so that's how we can take what we know about place value, what we're talking about place value back here, because each one of these is a times 10, right? Our jump is times 10. The same thing could apply here when talking about moving from unit to unit. Okay, all right. So I wrote down 15,450 milliliters, and I put it in our like place value chart, if you will, to kind of look at the different measurements and kind of looking at the place value basically on how many jumps we're going to be making here. So we have 15,450 milliliters, right? And if we wanted to like group this differently into different things, we could say that we had 1 decaliter, 5 liters, and kind of break it down even into deci and centi and so on and so forth. We could also say that we have 15 liters, right? 15 liters, 450 milliliters, okay? And we know that from some of the work we've done before, because for every 1,000 milliliters that we have, and we have 15,000 of them, 15 liters, for every 1,000 milliliters that we have 1 liter, we have 15,000, so we have 15 liters, and then we have 450 milliliters. Okay, so we can kind of use that place value chart to help us a little bit as far as distinguishing the different values that we have and how much of each that we have. Now, where this type of knowledge about place value and using a place value chart and kind of placing these numbers in there might come in really handy is when we're trying to compare different volumes or different weights or different lengths. So let's say, for example, down here I have 724,706 milliliters, and I wanted to compare that, see if it's greater than, less than, or equal to 72 liters, 760 milliliters. So right off the bat, that might be kind of hard to envision or kind of hard to convert, because we're dealing with milliliters and then liters and milliliters, so we got some differences going on here. So what I could do is I could think of this in my place value chart, or at least as far as those measurements go, and kind of write it as, let's see, so 724,706 milliliters, kind of stopped in that milliliter place value. And then we know we have 72 liters, 72 liters, 760 milliliters. So just looking off the bat here, I have 724 liters or 72 liters. Okay, I'm kind of stopping at that place value. Helps me to make sense of it there. So I know that that 724 liters is definitely going to be bigger. Okay, so I could look at that and even look here of my 724, which I kind of drew that over, but that's okay. 724, I have 724,000. If I put that into groups of 1,000, which would be 1 liter when comparing to milliliters, right? Because there are 1,000 milliliters in each liter, 10 times 10 times 10, or times 1,000, right? So 724,000 is the same as 724 liters, which is bigger than the 72 liters that we have over there. So that's how we can make the comparison there. You can put it in the chart if that helps you to kind of see things, kind of lay it out a little bit easier. Any of that works. It might also help when comparing numbers to use a number line, okay? So going away from the place value chart a little bit now, just kind of putting things out on a number line to see where they all sit and where they all need to be. So we have three numbers here, like 7,256 meters. I have 7 kilometers, 246 meters. I have 725, 900 centimeters. Okay, so we're converting from meters to kilometers to centimeters. We're kind of going all back and forth in between. So I'm going to go ahead and try to put these numbers on a number line. And the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to label my number line down here. Now, I want to come here and do some comparing, or at least converting these to some like measurements. So I'm going to try to put them all to at least meters, at least as close as I can get to meters. So let's see, 7 kilometers, that's the same as 7,000 meters. So 7,246 meters, right? Because these 7 kilometers is going to convert to 7,000 meters, and then I have the 246 meters here, so 7,246 meters. Here with my centimeters, remember if we're making that jump from centimeters to meters, so that's meters is times 10 times 10, so 100 times greater. So I need to group those centimeters into groups of hundreds. So I have 725, 900 centimeters, and you know what? I'm going to go back here and I'm going to erase this out. I'm going to use this chart to kind of help me. I had 725,900 centimeters. All right, so if I were to write that in here, so my 900 centimeters and 5 to 7, so 725,900 centimeters would be the same as, if I stopped here at the meter mark, be the same as 7,259 meters. 7,259 meters. So let me go back there. Be 7,259 meters. Okay, so now we can kind of do some comparison and put these on the number line. So it looks like I have, so if I look at these numbers a little closer, I have 7,250, 7,240, 7,250. So let me do this. Let me label this maybe as 7,230, 7,240. Okay, and these are all in meters here. All right, now we can kind of label through here. So 7,256, 7,256 be a little more than halfway. So I'm going to say that this is A. All right, 7,246 be a little more than halfway. Put B right there, and then 7,259, so that's almost to 60, so we'll put C right about there. So that's how we can kind of label those numbers in there, compare them, put them on a number line, and see the differences between them. Even though they all started out in different measurements per se, there we were able to convert them and label them and compare them on the number line. So based on what we did today, you guys should be able to practice this a little bit more, looking at the smaller unit, okay? So centi here being a smaller unit, meter being the larger unit, and what the distance is in between. So this is 10 times 10, which is times 100. So it's 100. A meter is 100 times greater than a centimeter. Okay, so kind of think about those things, play around with them a little bit. So thinking about here, we had 725,900 centimeters. When I stopped it here at the meter, it gave me 7,259 meters and 0 centimeters. Okay, if I had a number like, let's say, 5,678 centimeters, and I wanted to stop it at the meters again, I could say that it's 56 meters, 78 centimeters, okay? So we can kind of break apart the numbers that way. And look at, I'm using this chart here, using a place value chart to help us understand like the different parts and how we can break them apart in different ways. So hopefully that's making sense. And I know I combined all these things. That workout with the lifting the weights and the running thing kind of made my brain a little scrambled. So if you're feeling scrambled as well, that's okay. Reach out to me, reach out to a teacher, a learning guide. They can help you practice this a little bit more. Maybe check out that problem set, check out some other ways that you can practice this, and let me know if you guys need any help. Once again, I appreciate you guys watching and hanging in there with me. And if you need anything, let me know. All right, we'll talk to you soon.